Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. One of my most challenging yet, I'm gonna say it's rewarding video series that we do here on the channel is Where to Start. It's sponsored by Optima Batteries. We give a battery away in every one of these videos. This channel, we try to give back to you guys for watching. It's just hopefully you learn something from it. I hope you do, because I work hard on these videos. And you get stuff just by leaving a comment, being a subscriber. You get to win an Optima battery blue top of your choice. I say that because Optima Batteries now has lithiums, and I've been running them all year, and I love them. But we're not giving lithiums away. We're giving blue tops away. Still a great battery, AGM battery that lasts you forever. I've got some of these in some of my farm equipment that are 8 years old out at the pecan farm. Really, really good batteries. A lot of technology behind them. I don't want to go off into that. I want to get back to my video. We're doing Where to Start in July. The lakes that I've got, I went through here randomly. We missed last month. I apologize, guys, but my schedule has been hectic. I just screenshotted a couple people that sent in suggestions. I had a couple people, I saw a couple and I didn't actually screenshot it. Then Farrell Galloway, 2626, he mentioned Mayo Lake. I had somebody else mention Mayo Lake. I had somebody mention Palestine Lake in East Texas. I've never done that one in July. I think I've done it in the spring, but we're gonna do it in July. We're gonna do Mayo Lake, and we're gonna do Waurika Lake. I had a couple comments in here for Waurika Lake, lake here in Oklahoma. I've never got to fish that lake, but I want to, so that's why I'm gonna break it down. I've heard it's a really good lake, but I want to get down there to give it a shot. So those are the three lakes, Oklahoma, Texas, and North Carolina. I feel like Mayo is gonna be the most challenging. I'm really comfortable talking about Palestine. I'm going to be really comfortable talking about Waurika, even though I've never been on it because it's here in Oklahoma. You know? Mayo Lake, it's a lake in North Carolina. It does not look very big. I am wildly guessing. I'm going to say it's a 3,000 acre lake. Lots of shoreline. It looks like there's some sort of power plant on it here in the northwest corner. As I zoom in on this, I don't see a discharge and an intake and a discharge on it, so I don't know how much water it's actually moving. So I'm going to pretend this is not here. I don't think it's actually something that changes the water here on this lake a lot. So we're not going to talk about that a lot. You know, looking at the lake, it's just got a natural spillway. This lake is not going to fluctuate a bunch. I just didn't see that it fluctuates. When I go back in time and I look at photos throughout it, there's just not any change really in water levels more than a few feet. You know, it's not like a drastic 10, 11, 12 foot change. You know, the lake I was on yesterday, I mean, there's photos of that lake 12 feet low. You can learn a lot about a lake when a lake's that low. And, you know, we did a video series on that, and we still get lots of questions. How do you go back in time? So if you guys want, I'll try to get a link here in this video of that series where I teach you how to use your computer, how to go back in time and to look at water levels of different lakes. So, all right, moving on. So when I look at this lake, lots of shoreline, not hardly any boat docks. There's a few little boat docks here in this back up here underneath this bridge, and there's a little bit of grass. You know, this is the most recent photo that I can find. It's a 2023, October 2023 photo. And you know, if I'm a kayak fisherman, if I'm a bass fisherman, I'm a shallow water guy, I don't have forward-looking sonar. You know, this creek here, and then this one back here, I'm gonna have to look at those. I'm gonna run in there first thing in the morning, and that's what this video series is about. A place to go make a first cast and have confidence in doing that. Why do I choose this creek back here? Well, there's a couple reasons. It's the biggest, best, flattest spawning flat. When I think of the spring, I look at this area right here. I look at this area right here. You know, this area right here that is out of that main creek flow. If you had a big rain, those fish can slide right back up here and spawn. So why am I looking for that? Because it's the most amount of fish. That area is going to have more potential for more fish. The more fish I have in an area, the more chance I have to get a bite, for a place to start, to get my confidence going. So same thing in the summer. You know, if I'm going to have a little bit dingier water, I'm going to have some laydowns, I'm going to have some grass out on this mud flat. And July is a little early for it, but early in the morning, those fish can slide up in there. They can get a bite on this kind of stuff. Throwing a buzzbait, throwing your jaywalker, throwing some of those baits that we just talked about in the baits, you know, that you use in July and August, you know, a buzzing speed toad, something like that. Those are going to be baits that I'm going to throw up here early in the morning on these flats. I like this flat. I've got some deeper grass right here. I've got a log right there I can see underneath the water. I'm going to look around up here. I'm not going to spend all day, but I'm going to go up there and see if I can get a bite. If I get some bites, I'm going to slide right around the corner, or if that wind's out of the west and it's been piping into this pocket here, I'm going to look at the back of this pocket. And the thing I like about it, it does have a few boat docks. I don't ever pass up boat docks come July, you know, and I've got very isolated boat docks. I'm sure this lake gets lots of pressure. These, with only being a few boat docks, these are going to get pressure, but there's a reason they're getting pressure, because people are catching fish off of them every time. I mean, it's just the only piece of overhead cover they have other than that grass back there. So that's a second place to start, or really a 1 and 2 punch to start. As I would idle underneath this bridge, I would really be paying attention to my depth finder. If I'm a guy fishing from the bank, man, if I could walk out to these rocks, anytime the wind's blowing, it's making the current go one way or the other on this. Anytime you have current in July, moving water in July, it's going to be good. So these corners of this bridge is a place that I would look year round, and especially in July, you know, with a shaky head, small little crankbait, drop shot around the pilings. This right here is a good place to look come July. Moving on up the lake, you got another flat creek back here. If these are firing, you know, I'm going to look at that one back there. So moving out onto the lake, now the sun's come up, you know, things have warmed up. The thing that I noticed when I jumped over here to my sea map, let me get in the right state. A couple things I noticed. One thing on a place to start that I always think about on any body of water, when you zoom out and you look at this lake, you've got big straightaway, big body of water, and right here you've got a narrow opening, very narrow opening, and a dog leg. It's something different. Like when you look at this is all the same, this big body of water. Every lake where you've got a dog leg, it narrows down, it necks down, those are key spots in that lake. And in particular, when I look at this one, I've got a big flat point right here, and I've got a big flat offshore point right here. So fish can spawn on these, and then fish can move right out here in summer all the way around this. You know, you got wind blowing any direction. It's causing something for those shad. They're coming, they have to go up and over it. Those bass can ambush those shad on these 2 points. I love how they look. I could spend a lot of time idling around this, looking at this, you know, throwing a topwater on the shallow part of that in the morning, getting out off the edges, throwing my Carolina rig, my football jig, my drop shot, my shaky head across those. To me, these scream as a place to start and go fish. Now you're going to have to find the spot within the spot. You know, when you look at this, you've got a saddle here, you've got some contours that come in close, you got some peculiar things on it that, you know, some differences, I can't think of the word I'm trying to say, some things that are different on that, like that corner's different right there that sticks out. It's not as big and drastic, you know, as this is going to show up to a lot of people. It's going to get some pressure. That little corner's not quite as much pressure. You can slide off to the side to these things over here to the side if you get bit. This one on the inside I like a lot. I just like how everything comes together right there in that portion of the lake. So yeah, that's some places to start on Mayo Lake in July. It looks like a clean lake to me, you know. I don't know if it's too clean to crank or those kinds of things. Big hair jig, a big spoon, you know, obviously a drop shot, shaky head, those things are going to work. But I like the back of that creek, and I like that big main lake structure on Mayo Lake. That's what I'm going to be looking for if I were to go there. And just a little bit about this lake, how I would relate it. This lake to me relates a lot to a highland reservoir like a Table Rock, a Beaver, a Hartwell. Lots of lakes like that across our country that, you know, have a lot of shoreline, steeper banks, yet does have some offshore cover to it. Yeah, you look at that point right there too. And that's the great thing about the sea map. You know, I can change the colors. Like if I was to dive off into this 14 to 18 foot, this yellow line that goes all the way around this thing, then I just look for that everywhere else on that lake. So it's a neat thing about the sea map. And I get a lot of questions what mapping I use. This is the sea map, just an app I've downloaded on here on my iPad. I also have it on my phone. So just to answer those questions, pretty cool. The next lake. All right, let's do Palestine in East Texas. You talk about a cool lake. Those guys just got a lot of rain, so I really need to, I didn't think about that as I was choosing this lake. Interesting. Okay, let's throw that in there, because that, who knows, that, you know, we just had a bunch of rain come through Texas. I know it hit there at Houston. That had to go. Palestine got some rain. I'm going to say it was on the west side of the storm, so it didn't get as much as say Rayburn and Toledo Bend, but it's going to have some water running in it. And that truly changes where because I had some stuff picked out here where I'm going to start, but with water running, I would have to run up these rivers and look at them. You know, so you can see this yellow going down through here. Interesting lake. You know, when you run up here so far, you know, then you've got these bridges. I would have to look at these bridges, because if they're generating water, if they're moving water, every pinch point, every corner is going to attract those fish, because all they have to do is sit there, those shad are going to come to them. So the corners of these bridges, if we've got water moving in this lake, is going to be a place I'm going to start. I'm going to back out, and then I am going to look at some of these outside river bends. You can see right here, I've got an outside river bend, I've got a hump, I've got tight contour lines. There are going to be spots, this one right here, that river swings up against this ridge right here, that those fish are going to stack up on. This one right here looks like it's got a road bed coming off of it with that river. It's not near as tight a bend, which is okay. You know, the biggest, best bends always get the most attention, so you kind of look for those secondary ones. With that road coming across it, or actually that's not a road, that's a boat lane, which makes it even better. When you get to those East Texas lakes, you got to think of those boat lanes as highways. Those boat lanes are almost grass edges. They use those. They travel up and down those boat lanes. They pin those shad against those tree lines. So anytime you have a boat lane cross, a river channel and a ridge, you know, anytime those intersections happen, those are places that I am going to start and I am going to look. With that said, if I had some water running through that, you know, after this hurricane, how do you say, barrel, whatever that hurricane's name was, those bridge openings are going to be good. That's the kind of stuff I'm going to look for on that lake. Man, the offshore structure on this lake's incredible. Like, there's so many outside river bends. Like, you guys could spend a lifetime cranking some of that stuff. This one right here, I got a road bed going across it. That would be one that I would look at. Maybe somewhere right here where this outside bend and another creek comes in right here. That point actually right there would be one. That point right there on this side, you know, that stuff that I can pull up, throw my crankbait out there, throw my football jig, and I can get a bite really, really quick. I want to give you a couple places to start if you didn't have water, you know, because not everybody's going to have a hurricane coming through and they can relate. So this lake here, Palestine, is a little bit more of a flatland reservoir. And a flatland reservoir is just flatter, has timber in them a lot of times, not near as steep, not near as many miles of shoreline. So with that said, I'm moving down the lake. I'm moving to a little clearer water. And one thing that I want to teach you guys that I always pay attention to on any body of water is points that face upstream. And if you look down here above the dam, I've got a big major point that faces upstream right there. I've got a couple other flatter ones right there. It says Blackburn Bay over there. There is going to be timber or brush piles out there off those points, and there's going to be fish that use that point year round. I really like how those look. The last place that I want to tell you where to start is going to be, you're going to be like, okay, Edwin, really? But if you've forward-facing sonar, do not be scared to go between this bridge and these flats up here and just start looking at trees. Trees out over 30, 40 feet of water. and looking for a blob on that tree, or 2 or 3 blobs, 6 to 15 foot down. And you're just going all day, you're going. And there's a lot of people winning a lot of tournaments on lakes like this where they're just active targeting those fish out in that timber, out in open water, out where we've never looked before. Now we can go. We don't cast until we actually see one. Then take the time, throw your jerkbait, throw your minnow, throw a big worm over there in that tree and get that fish to bite. They're going to be suspended. They're going to be up high in the water column. Cloudy day, they're going to be higher. Sunny day, they're going to be lower. And sometimes it takes a lot of casts to get those fish to bite. But that's another thing to think about when you're going to bodies of water like this. So those are some places to start. If I was a bank fisherman, a kayak fisherman, I would be up there on this bridge. I would be fishing the corners of this bridge, and I'd be running my kayak up those ditches there with that water coming in. This side over here is really good too. Really, really good. I like this side over here. It can be dynamite also, so don't forget about it. Those are some places to start on that Great Lake, Palestine. You can't ever go wrong over here. I think it's called, why does that say Flat Bay? I'm pretty sure it's Kickapoo Creek. So to recap Palestine, water coming through it. Think about those pinch points. Think about those outside river bends, any corners, points, any of that stuff is going to be so key. Like when you find them, there's going to be a bunch of them if you've got that water coming through from the hurricane. Other than that, open water, timber, fish suspended on that stuff, using your forward-facing sonar is going to be a great thing. Then the other thing that you got to remember about Lake Palestine is all the boat docks. You know, I kind of feel like right now with everybody out there wanting to use their forward-facing sonar, those fish under those boat docks aren't getting as much pressure, and just in July, it's a great time of the year to fish boat docks. They provide shade, a little cooler water. Don't overlook those boat docks, and just pick a pocket, fish a couple in the back, fish a couple in the middle, fish a couple at the mouth until you get that pattern established. Fish some in the back, fish some in the middle. You know, think about the outside river bends, think about ones that sit on points, think about creek bends that come up deeper water that gets closer to them. Think about isolated ones. You know, you're going to have to pick that apart yourself. You know, sometimes it's ones with the black plastic foam. Sometimes it's ones with floating foam. A lot of the docks, I think, on Palestine are stationary, and I love that because it makes it a lot easier when that water gets a little lower to get up underneath them. You know, throw a square bill crankbait, a big swim bait, those kinds of things. That buzz bait up underneath them is going to be really good. So, you know, those are some areas to think about and to start on Palestine. You know, the last lake that we have right here is Waurika Lake. And unfortunately, I have never got to go to it. Let me find it here. Waurika Lake is going to be another flatland type reservoir, and it's got a big flat up in the northern end. It's got roads that go all across it. It's got one bridge with a little narrow opening on it. You know, our predominant wind a lot of times, you know, in the summer is a southwest. So it's going to be blowing across this lake. One thing that I would think about, you know, just you're going to have wind going in the backs of all these northern facing pockets. Thus, you're going to have a lot of shad. Man, when I zoom in on it right there and just saying everything I just said, look at that narrow little bridge right there that's going to force water through that thing. You know, if you get a big wind blowing, I'd have to look at that. Let's look at that thing on Google Earth. Lots of road beds. I'm going to say, with the limited knowledge that I have of this lake, I would have to attack this lake shallow. I don't think I'm going to be fishing this lake 15, 18, 20 feet deep. It does not look like that type of lake to me. When I zoom in on it here on Google Earth, it's right there above the Red River. It looks like a stained body fishery. So that's a October photo. There's a lower water photo from October. Lots of clay banks, and then you got a little rock section right there. That's kind of cool. So you got clay, then a hard rock section. Man, when the shad spawn's going on, that's going to be a really cool spot right there. Let's just go back in time right quick and just look at a few photos here and see what happens. Ooh, there's a really low water photo. Pretty cool thing about this Google Earth, you can find this is a 2014 photo that, man, this water is mega low. So we go here to this pocket that I was talking about. You can see there's absolutely no water in it. You can see that we've got an old road that goes across the mouth of it. We've got a bridge right there. Man, that would be a great place to start. That corner, that corner, that corner. It's just good cover. You've got you know, this is going to be shallower across this, so wind blowing across it, it's going to be a pinch point, you know, in the vertical sense of the water column. It's going to be a pinch point in the horizontal sense as water going through these old bridge openings. That's kind of cool right there. So if I was just to fill it up to show you, when you look at it this way, you would never know that it's even there. You know, that water, that photo, the water's flooded. Yeah, you can't even see that thing there. I mean, so it looks like this lake too, with that water being low, you had lots of flooded cover. You know, I said I'd approach this lake shallow, and I want to stay with that because I just pointed out a bridge right there that's deeper. Yes, you could look at that if that lake fishes deeper. And let's talk about that. What depth do you start at? If I was to go to Waurika Lake, a lake I've never been to, and I'm to drop a bait over the side, and let's say I can see that bait 3 feet down, a great starting depth would be to double that, say 6 feet. If I can see that bait 4 or 5 feet down, a great starting depth is going to be 10 feet. So keep that in mind. If I can see that bait a foot down, a lot of times, you know, a great starting depth is 2-3 feet. That's not an end-all be-all. I can give you lots of scenarios outside of that where I've caught them deeper when I can only see a bait 1.5 to 2 foot deep. A lot of times that's on lakes that has a lot of current going through it. But you know, that's just a general rule. That's a place to get you started. You always adjust from there. Always adjust from there. But you know, with July and August, one thing that I'm a firm believer in lakes that don't have a lot of water going through them from generation schedules, they tend to live shallower, especially in a dirty water reservoir. So I always start shallow and then you can work your way deeper. So many times in my career, and I just did it yesterday out there fishing, you know, I started in 3-4 foot of water and I worked deeper when I should have started at 0 because they were really shallow. And we're right here in the middle of July here in Oklahoma. So when you're not getting bit, adjust the depth. 9 times out of 10, that's what's wrong. It's not the bait, it's not the retrieve, it's just you're not putting the bait in the depth the fish are living. So keep that in mind. You know, so looking at this lake, and one thing that I don't want to mislead you here, and what I'm talking about is, you know, there's a lot of lakes, and I'm not saying this is one of them, but when you get to the upper end, you know, we talk a lot about places to start, find the biggest flat. You're going to go there because, you know, you've got the most potential for fish to spawn, to feed, all those things. And when you look at the map of this lake, the biggest flat's the upper end of this. Well, if I was to tell you that at Lake Texoma, I know for a fact that's all silted in. There's no fish up there. There's no spawning habitat left. Lake Waurika looks like a lake that's got lots of silt that has come into this thing. I can't tell you that I would start up here. I don't think it's the answer because I don't think the habitat for those fish to spawn are in this upper end because you don't have the hard bottom. I'm not telling you start up there. I did say, you know, this bridge right here, this bridge interests me. You know, you're going to have a hard bottom. Fish are going to spawn on that bridge. We talked about that bridge across the mouth and fish are out a little deeper. I'm going to have to start down the lake. I like this old road bed here that goes across the back of this pocket. Yes, this is all silted in. You don't have good spawning habitat. And I know I'm talking about spawning habitat in July, but it also means you have fish, but they can spawn on this road, and I bet they do. So this, to me, is a place that would have fish in it year round, and you could utilize this road to your benefit, you know, to catch fish off this thing because the water, they've gotten rain down there. This lake's going to be full. You can see right there, it's completely under the water when the lake's at normal level. So I like the looks of that. What else? I like these banks down here where it changes from clay to rock. Some of these points, some deeper ones, some sharper ones. Some of this stuff right around there is going to be really good. Square bill crankbait, your favorite vibrating jig, a buzz bait, you know, early in the morning, your jaywalker, a chopo. I like this flat point right here. You can tell it's a hard bottom. This is soft bottom right over here. It's about to get in there. So, you know, you've got a point here that's a harder bottom point. This is soft over here. Big flat point like that. I like that kind of stuff. If I can find a piece of cover out here, a tree, a stump, a brush pile, a rock, and I'm talking 3 to 7 feet of water, not overly crazy deep, out off something like that. That's going to catch a lot of wind all day long. Just to me looks like a good place to start. I would approach this lake fishing the changes in the bottom. where it goes from clay to mud, or clay to rock. Right here, when you zoom in on this, it looks like I've got some riprap points right down through there. You know, that south wind piping down through there, you know, that's a lower water photo. So the water's gonna be up and go around each one of those points. Those look really, really intriguing and interesting to me as a place to start. I think this is going to be a shallow water fishery. I would approach it shallow with my favorite power baits, jig, or go back old school black blue jig, those kinds of things. There's still going to be some flooded shoreline around there from when that lake was low in 2014. When you're fishing that flooded shoreline, that flooded timber, and it's going to be willow trees, always pay attention to what we call leaners. And you know, you've got a field of stumps, you know, they're stobs this big to this big, and then you've got one that's leaning at a 45. That's the key one. You want to throw right across that thing. Why is it key? Because it provides more shade. Something like this only provides a sliver shade. Something like this, they have something that gets above them. They can get underneath it. Pay attention to those leaners, and I guarantee you there's a lot of them on this lake because it was so low for so long. Those are really a key to bring your bait over those. Don't ever pass up a leaner when you have that opportunity on your body of water. A piece of timber leaning to its side, very, very important. So, yeah, that's Waurika Lake. Really interesting lake, pretty flat lake. Looks like the wind beats it to death. And it's going to be a lake that I would fish shallow with stained water. I think you catch them shallow there year round, and it's on my bucket list. I'm going to do a Project E down there really soon. I don't mind driving 3-4 hours and going and fishing a new body of water, and we'll just break it down that way for sure on there. So appreciate the comments, appreciate you guys sending that stuff in. Let's get to the winner of this month. All right, so we got the winner right here. Just a super simple comment. He said, super info on all the lakes. Thanks a bunch. Gerald Williams, 2362. Really simple, Gerald. You'll send me an email. I'll respond to it with a certificate. Guys, this is the only winner. I want to keep all the spam off the channel. I'll never reach out to you and say you are the winner. It just doesn't work that way. The only winner is the one I mentioned right here in the video form. So appreciate the support. It's a way I can give back to you guys for watching. And Gerald, you won a battery certificate for an Optima Blue Top of your choice. So get that to me and I'll get you that certificate. Appreciate you guys watching, man. And till next time, good fishing, tight lines, and I hope you catch a big one.